So first of all, I would like to thank IUCT and also Professor Singh for inviting me. And I would like to discuss academic leadership, whatever little I understand about academic leadership. So I think my request to all of you is that if there is any question, you should interrupt me and clarify the doubt then and there, and so that it should not be a monologue, and you can ask me any question in Hindi or English, whatever you feel comfortable. And I have been given about 95 minutes. So maybe let us say I can spend about 80 minutes on giving this talk, including the question answers, and towards the end, 10-15 minutes again we can spend on dedicated question and answer. So today, I will be talking about understanding leadership. So first we need to understand what is the leadership. Then we should understand the difference between a manager and a leader. And then, in our life, there is a lot of crisis many times. So how we should handle the crisis, we should never allow the crisis to be wasted, and we should use the crisis to our advantage. Then we should look at the characteristic of a effective academic leader. If you become a leader somewhere, what kind of a leader you should be, what kind of characteristics you should have. Then I'll be discussing some of the strategies to become an effective academic leader. For example, if you become a head of the department or a dean or a director, what kind of strategies you can adopt in order to become effective and acceptable leader in your institution. I'll be talking about some of the challenges and possible solutions in the academic leadership roles. And then I'll talk about steps for improved academic leadership if the time permits. So these 6 topics, I will definitely like to cover. 7th and 8th, some case studies I would cover if the time permits. Otherwise, I'll just go to the conclusion after. So this is the agenda. So let's discuss the leadership. This leadership is something that's a very grossly misunderstood word. It is not understood properly. Now, if we look at some of the examples, there are all kinds of leaders that this world has seen. For example, Fidel Castro. Okay, Fidel Castro was very hardworking, very dedicated. He was very loyal, generous, and magnanimous leader of Cuba, and he fought for people of Cuba, and he was like worshipped for his fights and his battle against the atrocities. Similarly, there is one leader which is called Alexander the Great. Okay, this is the Alexander the Great. So he basically was one of the most ambitious ruler who never lost a battle, except his last one, which was lost in India, and he lost his life from the wounds that he received in the battle in India, and he died on his way back to his country. But before that, he never lost a battle, and he was one of the great leader example. Similarly, Winston Churchill, he led the Britain to victory in World War II. Okay, and this is Churchill. And then Napoleon Bonaparte. This guy is Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a great leader. He put up a legal system which is even today applicable in more than 70 countries. Similarly, Adolf Hitler was a great leader also, because he gained immense popular support through his speeches and writings. He could actually, his speeches were so powerful that he could motivate his people to commit so many atrocities on Jews. It's not a good thing, but he led his people from the front. Similarly, if you look at Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela was a great leader of the South Africa, which had the anti-apartheid revolutionary. Apartheid is discrimination, so he fought against the discrimination based on the skin color. So the Africans were subjected to a lot of harassment by white people, and he led this battle leading to ultimately the freedom of South Africa. Similarly, Julius Caesar, he was responsible for the rise of Roman Empire, and we know Mahatma Gandhi had a significant role. So these are all the examples of a leader, and obviously each one of us want to be one or the other. These are some of the ideals that we would like to be. So first, let us understand, what are the traits, what are the characteristics of a good leader. So again, in the global context, you can see this is Mahatma Gandhi, Hitler, Dhirubhai Ambani, Sudha Murthy, Barack Obama, J.R.D. Tata, Vivekananda, Modi Saab. All these are great leaders, and so one of the few characteristics of a good leader are that they are very keen listeners. So if you go with a problem to them, they will not start preaching you. They will first listen to you carefully. So listening is a very, very, very important characteristic for a leader. Then you should you should have creative leadership. You should find new ways of helping people. And the leaders are generally very good in team building, because one person cannot do everything. Generally, all these leaders have a very, very strong team. So they are team builders, and this once you are in a team, you can actually contribute much better than individual. They take calculated risk. So if you want to just be in your comfort zone, take no risk, then you cannot be an effective leader. And one of the important things is that they see the big picture. They don't see, if you go with a problem, they don't see the immediate happening. This person said that, this person said this. They see the big picture and then give you advice or give you the direction or give you a solution after looking at the big picture. And not many people have this capability to see the big picture. So this is one of the important characteristics for a good leader, that they look at the big picture. And most importantly, they inspire people, because there are all the leaders actually have a very large fan following. And fan following you can create by inspiring people. For example, the leaders should lead from the front. For example, you remember Mahatma Gandhi, he took Dandi March, and hundreds of thousands of people followed him for breaking the salt laws, Namak Satyagraha. And so a lot of people followed him, but he was leading from the front. Similarly, if you look at Kapil Dev, 83 World Cup, Kapil Dev was a leader. Nobody could believe, Indians were underdogs at that time. Nobody could believe that the Indian team could win the World Cup. But the Kapil Dev believed in himself. He led the entire victory from the front, and ultimately we got our first World Cup in cricket. Leaders are generally transparent and honest, and they have grassroots to leadership. For example, they rise from grassroots to leadership. For example, Barack Obama and Nelson Mandela, and also PM Modi. All these are people who have risen from the grassroots, and they understand common man's hardship, common man's difficulties, and they have assumed the leadership position after their lot of hard work over their entire life. And they have been very effective leaders because they understand common man. They are connected to the roots. Similarly, they motivate people with speech. For example, I gave you the example of Adolf Hitler. He was doing all kind of wrong things, but he could motivate all German people at that time to follow whatever he was doing. Although it was wrong, but he could motivate. So good leaders have this strong capability to motivate people with their speeches. And then good leaders also have clear vision. For example, Dhirubhai Ambani. Dhirubhai Ambani had this dream of building very large petroleum empire called Reliance, and he built it. He was not a very rich person to begin with. He was an ordinary person. But he had very clear vision. And then he made a strategy. And then he implemented that strategy. So these are all the characteristics of good leaders. Now, this is just one definition of a leader. L stands for loyalty. E stands for excellent human being. A stands for accountable and adaptable. D stands for dynamic. E stands for endurance. R stands for realistic and reasonable. So this is the definition of the leader. And these are the important expectations from a leader. A leader should have vision, he should have motivation, he should have the desire to serve people, he should have empathy to people. you know he should have creativity, he should have thoroughness, he should be managing difficult times, he should be a team builder, he should take calculated risks, and he should seek continuous improvement. He should not just get satisfied with small things, he should seek continue to improve his systems and his people, and he should be a decision maker. So these are also very important characteristics of a leader. Why leadership is important? It improves the communication. Suppose you are in a workplace where the leadership is very good. So in that environment, in that system, you will have good communication between the stakeholders. It creates a better work environment. If you have a good leader, the work environment will be very good. If you have a weak leader, the work environment and the quality of work environment will reduce. If you have a good leader, you will have good productivity of the entire system. It will increase the efficiency of the system. There will be reduction in the mistakes that everybody makes as a system. It will motivate the employees to perform better. It will set good examples for others to follow. And the leaders actually inspire people to do hard work. They create a strong vision and direction for the future, and they help keep the employees on track. So these are some of the reasons why having an effective leadership in any organization is extremely important. Any questions so far? Okay, so what is a leadership? Leadership, what do you understand by leadership? What is a leadership? Is it a role? Is it a position? Is it an authoritative role? Is it a responsibility or a challenge? So actually the answer is that it is all the above. Leadership is a role, a position, authority, but more importantly, it is a responsibility and a challenge. Leadership is a discovery, authority is a creation. They are not synonymous. So you have the authority because of leadership, but you should never impose your authority on your people. Authority is transient and leadership is transcendental. Okay, so role of leadership is to make the case for a change and overcome aspiration deficit. What does it mean? It means that the leadership should continuously make a case for change. The system should continuously change for better. And if there are some people whose aspirations are low, there is aspiration deficit, there is no motivation among their people. So the leader should help overcome this aspiration deficit. It should motivate the people to perform better. So leadership involves motivating your own people. Leadership involves increasing the competence of the people, increasing the skills of the people, taking the responsibility for your actions and the actions of your subordinates. Leadership is helpful in improving the communication within the entire system. Leadership, if it is effective, it can be very powerful. Leadership can offer support to all these stakeholders, and leaders can really help people form teams and work with their team spirit. So in the words of Warren Bennis, it says that leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. So basically, leadership offers the vision, and if the leadership is very good, then this leader will be able to translate that vision and make into a reality. So that is why in any organization, it is very important that you have a very strong leadership with a very strong vision. And then if your leader is good and he has a good vision and desire to make change, then that vision can be converted into reality. Now, let's come to academic leadership. So, role of academic leader in shaping any academic institution's vision and mission. How a leader of an academic institution should be. So first, he should inspire and motivate people. And then, if you are going to become a leader of an academic institution, You should always be in touch with teaching. I have seen that many of the academic leaders, once they become leader, once you become director, once you become dean, you stop teaching. That is one of the worst things to happen. You should continue to teach. You should continue to inspire your students. You should continue to motivate your student and your entire teaching fraternity. You should build strong teams. Only then you will be able to be very effective. You should promote creativity in the entire system. If there are any differences of opinion, you should do the conflict resolution. In conflicts, interpersonal conflicts are natural. So if you are in an organization, there are bound to be differences between people, and those differences will always get escalated. They will always come to the department head, they will always come to the dean, and if they are not resolved, they will even go to the director. And then they should find innovative ways to resolving these interpersonal differences and resolve these conflicts. Leadership should also create positive work environment for all the stakeholders. In the case of academic leadership, they should create positive work environment for the students as well as for the faculty members. And they should challenge the status quo. Things are happening this way for 5 years, I should continue doing this. No, you should challenge that. You should always try to improve by creating vision and by building relationship leadership in people. One of the most important role of leader is to create more leaders. This is where most of us in India fail. We think that we are leaders and we are leaders for life, and we don't allow our subordinates to have leadership skills. Whereas, it is very, very important that the person in the top should always help people below him or her to scale newer heights. It's like, you like to see your children going up. Same way, a leader should make sure that people below him follow his footsteps and they also become leaders in future. This is very, very important for a good academic leadership. You should also make sure that the goals are achieved. You should provide guidance to all the stakeholders, keep tracking them, and you should have a big vision. So these are the role of academic leadership in shaping an institution's vision and mission. Now, in academic leadership, what is an academic leadership? So when a teacher, a professor, or a faculty member at any academic institute leads students to success, that is academic leadership. If a teacher helps students to develop skills and knowledge which they are going to need in future careers and provide challenging opportunities to test and improve their knowledge, this is academic leadership. Academic leader also set goals for their students and help them create an action plan to achieve those goals. This is also academic leadership. Some of the examples of responsibility of an academic leader may be that the teacher as a leader may teach one class or multiple classes as the day as per of their teaching load. They also develop curriculum for programs or individual courses that they are given responsibility of. They write detailed lesson plans for the students. They conduct research to stay updated with the industry trends. They participate in extracurricular activities with students. They assess the students' progress and create detailed report for the students. They interact with parents and faculty to evaluate the students. They choose a teaching style or approach that meets the learning needs of the students and follow the academic institution policies for encouraging students to do the same. So these are the academic responsibilities of teachers as academic leaders. So if you are a teacher in any organization, these duties should be done with 100% seriousness so that you emerge as a good academic leader. And yeah, so now I'll come to some some of our religious texts, and our religious texts also talk about academic leadership of higher order. It says advesta sarva bhutanam maitreya karuna evacha nirmamo nirankara sam dukh sukh chami. What it means is that he who hates no creature, who is friendly and compassionate to all, who is free from all attachments and egoism, doesn't have any ego, is balanced in pleasure and pain and forgiving. This is the characteristic which is expected in an academic leader. Spiritual leadership is also very important. An academic leader should also have very high quotient of spiritual leadership. If you are a spiritual leader, not in the sense of, every academic leader should be a spiritual leader as well. So basically, this spiritual leadership is an emerging paradigm that has the potential to guide organizational transformation and development of the positive organization, where human beings, humans' well-being and organizational performance cannot coexist, but it can be maximized. So basically, what it means is that if you are having a bit of a spiritual leadership, you can actually do organizational transformation and positive organization in a much better way, and you can maximize the organizational performance in a much better way. So always, when you are having academic leadership, there should be a bit of spiritual leadership. So, and this is very important quote by Colin Powell. He says trust is the essence of leadership, which means that as a leader, you cannot be a leader if your people don't trust you. So the trust is essential. Leader should always have the trust of all people below him. That's extremely important. And that's where many of us actually fail. This is one leadership being shown by Lord Krishna. This is Mahabharata. And he said this, Yada yada charati shresthasto devataro jana sa yat pramanam kurute lokstadanuvartate. Whatever a great man does, the other men also do, or other men also follow. Whatever he sets up as a standard, that the world also follows. That means you should try to become a leader. Whatever you do, people below you tend to follow you. Whatever standards you set, the people below you will follow. So this also puts a lot of responsibility on the leaders, where you should always be doing positive things, good things, ethical things, because there will be a lot of people who will follow you. Okay, so this is the closure of the first part. If there are any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll move to the next part. Is there any question? Is there any question from anyone?
Prashant sir is having a question. Sir, you can ask, please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good
It's Prashant Jain from Allahabad, sir. So you talk about the leadership, and there was a point when you talk about the authority versus responsibility. I have a responsibility to guide the students or to motivate the students, but sometimes I don't have the responsibility.
You have the authority, but not.
I have the responsibility, but I don't have the authority to justify with them. So how to overcome that situation, sir? Authority is with the higher authorities of the institution.
No. As a supervisor, you have the authority to.
So sometimes we face the situation that the final decision has to be taken by the higher authorities, either the registrar or
Yeah,
the
but then
superior
why the
authority.
matter should go? That means your leadership is weak. See, why the matter should escalate so much that your students' matter goes to the higher authorities. You should show the leadership. If there is a student is having a problem, you should be compassionate. You should show some empathy, and you should try to resolve the matter at your end. Authoritative leadership is called dictatorship. So you have to win trust of the people. You have to win respect of the people, and then the authority will not be required to be exerted. It will anyway be there. Did I answer your question?
Sir, suppose a student from a weaker section comes to me.
Yes.
And he asks, sir, I am not able to pay the fees.
Yes.
I am responsible to solve his problem, but I don't have the authority. I have to go to my authorities to ask, sir, please
That's called
consider this.
empathy. You are not going because of authority. You are showing empathy, that you are taking his case to higher authorities, that okay, a consideration can be done. It's a good thing.
in that case, what we have to do, sir?
Just you can try. You can make a honest attempt to do that. If it happens, happens. If it doesn't happen, doesn't happen.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Anyway, this will be more clear when we go forward to the next sections. Okay. So now let us understand. There are sometimes your question will also be clarified in this part of the talk, second part, which is we have to understand the difference between manager and leader. Okay. So what is the difference between manager and a leader? Tell me, this guy, he made the Apple phone, right? So he said that management is about persuading people to do things they don't want to do. So suppose the students don't want to do assignment and you force them to do it, this is management. If you are a leader, you will do it other way. Leadership is about inspiring people to do things they never thought they would do. So if you have leadership as a teacher, you will inspire the students to solve the assignment which they never thought they could solve. That's the difference between a manager and a leader. So manager actually creates goal, leader actually creates a vision. Manager focuses on things to be done, leader creates focus on the people. Manager makes a plan, leader inspires the people. Manager is process oriented, leader is result oriented. Manager organizes things and leader influences things. Manager always follows the rules, leader always shapes the rules. Manager builds the processes and leader builds the relationship. So some of the questions that you asked previously, you have to look at it whether you are behaving like a leader or like a manager. And if you are behaving like a manager, then you have to change your attitude to become a leader. So for example, this figure shows what is the difference between a manager and a leader. You can see this here. This manager is in the back. He is just saying, do it, do it. He is just trying to shout on his people to go to the top. Whereas the leader actually is leading his people and he's saying, let's do it. So all of them get motivated because their leader is leading it from the front and they achieve success very quickly compared to manager. So this is the difference between a manager and a leader. Okay. So now, a leader is leader because he has followers. But sometimes, the followers lose faith in the leader. Why does it happen? So the leaders in an organization display, for example, if you have a director in an academic institute, and his people do not like him. Why people don't like him or why people stop following him? These are some of the reasons. For example, if your director doesn't come on time, he has 0 or negative time sense. He never shows up on time. He says, I'll come at 3 o'clock. He shows up at 4 o'clock. And people are waiting for 1 hour. So he slowly begins to lose his people's respect. He has no respect for others' work. If somebody goes with a work to him, he always finds faults, shouts at them, and doesn't give them respect, gives non-achievable targets to his people, which people cannot achieve in realistic way. So then people start losing faith in the leader. If he abuses his position, does corruption, he does things, he takes personal favors, then also people lose his faith in the leader. If he takes small benefits, for example, for some contract, he takes a bribe or he goes to hotels with the contractors or some small benefits, then people are going to lose faith in him. So trust follows when you are leading by example, trying. At least the leader should be looked to be trying, showing up on time, listening to people, learning new things, helping people and encouraging people. So when you do that, then the leader will become will have a lot of followers and people will respect him. So these are the traits by which a leader is going to lose his followers, and these are the traits by which a leader is going to have a lot of followers. So this comes to the end of the second part, which is the difference between the manager and a leader. Now coming to the third part, which is very important, is never waste a crisis. See, in everybody's life, we have a lot of crisis all the time, and crisis, how you deal with the crisis is important, and that's where attitude comes into the picture. For example, I'll give you an example. This happened in Japan, 1945. They were attacked by nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Entire country was devastated. Okay, and this country completely resolved at that time. National resolution they took that we will convert this immense crisis into an opportunity. So crisis is nothing but danger, but it also means opportunity. And today, the Japan is one of the most developed countries in a span of less than 70 to 80 years. From rubble, it has become the third largest GDP in the world in 2019. It is the second ranked Asian country in global peace index after being devastated. And they actually, when they were destroyed, they focused on quality manufacturing. They started small, but then they focused on quality. And then, remember now, of course, the quality is not such a major issue because most of the others have caught up. But you remember about 20 years back when we were like 20 or 30, Japanese cameras, Japanese watches, these were all luxury items because they were made with so much of fine quality. No other country could match the kind of qualities Japanese were producing. Japanese cars were the best. They still are the best in terms of manufacturing quality. So from this crisis, they focused on quality and they emerged. So it's always important that you should never let go a crisis go waste. Whenever you come in trouble, whenever you get into a danger, just collect yourself, apply yourself, and use that, convert that crisis into an opportunity. So if you look at execution of effective leadership in crisis, for example, 67% of the companies with well-formulated strategies failed due to poor execution. So you have well-formulated strategies, but if the execution is poor, you are not going to get the results. Dynamic plan will definitely well-defined timelines and objectives and measurable target. You should create and sustain aspirations of the people, provide a platform and tools to help people achieve those aspirations, convert the crisis into opportunity. Vision without execution is just a hallucination. If you have a vision, but you don't have the power to execute it, you don't have your execution is poor, then it is just like a dream. It is just like hallucination if you cannot really execute it properly. It is very important that a leader should set the goals, and not only set the goals, he should also do honest reviews of the progress. So now, in our system, there is a tendency for satisfactory underperformance. If somebody is underperforming, everybody is underperforming, we say, okay, everybody's satisfactory. We don't want to bell the cat. So I think if there is a case of underperformance where a large number of people are underperforming, the leader should come out of this syndrome called satisfactory underperformance. And you should define matrices, and you should also put some kind of incentives so that people get motivated to actually satisfactory performance, not satisfactory underperformance, satisfactory performance. And those who are good performers, they should be incentivized. People don't want to be underperformers. Nobody wants to be underperformer. So this underperformers should not be given satisfactory, and then you motivate people to perform better. But everybody want to be superior performers. So you have to take this advantage of the psychology of the people that nobody wants to be underperformer. They want to be superior performer. So by putting some kind of matrices, putting some kind of incentives, you can actually convert the underperformers into super performers and transform your organization. So this is one quote which says only three things happen naturally in organization: friction, confusion, and underperformance. Everything else requires leadership. So if there is no leadership in an organization, friction, confusion, and underperformance, These three things will always happen. And if you want to come out of it, you will need effective leadership. So this is the part 3 of my talk. Now I will talk about the characteristics of effective academic leader. So I think we have discussed some of this before, but now we'll look at a little bit more detail. First is that the leader should have vision and he should do strategic thinking. What does it mean? So he should have a clear vision for the future of the organization. He should convey a clear sense of the organization's purpose and mission to all the stakeholders. And he should recognize when it is time to shift strategic direction. And all this can be done by strategic thinking. Now, what is the strategic thinking? Strategic thinking is vision. So you should define your vision statement that you want in the future. So if you become a director, so first thing you should do is you should define a vision statement. Where you want to be in 5 years. Then you should make a strategy, figure out how to reach your vision, come up with one or more strategies, and then you should use tactics. Strategy and tactics, these are important. So expand to include tactics, identify the specific activities that you're going to do, and then keep reviewing them and keep punishing the underperformers and keep rewarding the overperformers until you achieve your vision. So this is how a leader should make a vision and should do strategic thinking and tactics implementation in the organization. Second aspect of the leadership is communication and interpersonal skill. So, it is very important that the leaders are assertive. Okay, they should tell this to their people that this is what the organization wants and this is what needs to be done. And you should tell this without any ambiguity. You should not always have verbal communication. Sometimes non-verbal communication is also very important. People should understand from your body language, from your posture, what you want, and people should recognize the non-verbal communication from a leader. You should have leadership listening skills. You should have ability to negotiate. So if there is some situation, you should always be finding a solution by giving something, taking something, not money, but just negotiate your way through and find an amicable solution which is acceptable to you. You yield something and the other person also yields something, come at a common ground and find a solution to move forward. Verbal communication is also very important. You should have the ability to solve the problems and not create the problems. And the leader should also have the decision-making capabilities. Now, a few important things. For example, if you are in a meeting, how do you establish a rapport with your audience? So if you want to establish a rapport with your audience, the few things you should do is be confident. So you can be confident by preparing whatever you are doing or whatever you're going to say. Be confident, but don't be overconfident. This is also something that you have to watch out. If you are overconfident, you will be exposed very soon. Second, be inserted in your listeners. So in your audience, you should listen to them, not just keep speaking. Be invested and be interested in your listeners. Adapt to the audience depending on what kind of audience it is. For example, if you are a professor and your audience is school children, then you should give your talk according to school children's level. If it is senior bureaucrats, you should give the talk which is more based on the policy. You should show enthusiasm about whatever you are saying. It should not be a cold talk. It should be full of emotions, and people should understand that you are invested in whatever you are saying. You should maintain eye contact. If you are looking here and there, that doesn't show good confidence. You should maintain always eye contact with the person you are talking. You should use open body language. You should not have a closed body language. So this is extremely important, and you will be able to actually establish good rapport with your audience. Some body language basics, you should, as I said, you should maintain eye contact. You should have an open body language posture or a stance. Your gestures are very important. You should have good expressions on your face. You should give enough space to people around you. You should not get too close to anybody. Haptics and touch, you should try to avoid. To get the attention of the people, it's okay to move on the stage. If you are on a stage, movement is also quite important to catch the attention of your audience. Now, how important is listening? If you look at this, listening is extremely important. So if you look at the listening, 45% of the communication happens by listening. 30% of the communication happens by speaking. Writing about 9% and reading about 16%. So you should listen when someone wants to convey something. You should not speak at that time. You should listen before you respond to anybody. If somebody is coming to you, you should listen to him first. You should listen after you ask a question. If you have asked a question and you don't listen, keep repeating the question, that doesn't make sense. If you ask a question, you should listen to the person and allow him to speak. And you should look for non-verbal cues. This is also very, very important. Listening always helps you understand what is being communicated. It helps you establish rapport with the person who is speaking. Listening also helps you making measured responses. Listen and speak in few words, not a verbose response. Leaders speak few words, listen more, and do not make noise about it. So, what are the barriers for verbal communication? There are barriers to the communicator, there are barriers to the listener. For example, if the communicator has lack of self-confidence, then this will be a barrier. So if nobody wants to listen to a person who doesn't have self-confidence, and this will act as a barrier. If there is lack of motivation or enthusiasm about whatever the person is talking about, that is also a very important barrier. If somebody is prejudiced, so if somebody says, I don't like so and so person because he is from this caste or this religion or from this region or he speaks this language, this is prejudice. Generally, people don't like prejudices, and so it is important to keep away these prejudices and be normal during your communication. Disagreement between verbal and non-verbal messages are also a barrier to the communication. That means what you are speaking and your body posture, if they don't agree with each other, this will be an important barrier in your communication. If you have the inability to engage or adapt to the listeners, that also acts as a barrier to the communicator. If there is lack of self-awareness about the person who is speaking, then that also acts as a barrier for the communicator. And if there is unwillingness to learn new or different approaches, that also acts as a barrier to the For the listeners, it is important, the important barrier is preoccupation. For example, when I'm talking, half of you will be on your computers, on your mobiles. This will be a big barrier, because whatever I'm talking, you are not listening. And so this will be a big barrier. So whenever you are in a meeting, you should try to listen. Don't be preoccupied with phones, WhatsApp, and all these things. This actually is a important barrier for the listeners. There are some people who have rebuttal instincts. So rebuttal instinct means whatever the other person is saying, some people always have this habit to say no or rebut that or oppose whatever is being said. So this instinct is a big barrier as a listener. Then there is unwillingness to change. Many of us don't want to change. So this unwillingness to change is also a big barrier. And there is lack of interest. If I'm speaking and half of the listeners are not interested in listening, that is a big barrier. If there is prejudice, that also is a big barrier. And if there are preconceived beliefs about something, that also acts as a barrier. And here and now, internal and external factors are also some of the big barriers in communication. Now, this is something which is very close to my heart. And I have been working on this plan for the last 3-4 years with the Government of India. This is about Indian languages in professional courses. So what happens is that nowadays all these professional courses of engineering, medical, they are only in English. And we know that less than 10% of the Indian population can read or write English, which means that 90% of the population, Indian population, cannot go for engineering or medical or professional education because they are not good in English. And this becomes a problem of inclusivity. We are only using 10% of our brain power. We have left 90% of the brain power, which could have otherwise used for the development of the country. And we have not been able to take advantage of it because of our love for English. And in the love for English, we have actually forgotten that we have so many Indian languages which are equally and more richer than English. And so, keeping this in mind, Government of India has come up with this plan where professional education is being introduced in 13 Indian languages, which are listed here. The books are written, and many engineering colleges have also started doing degrees. Many medical colleges have also started doing medical education in English. And if you look at this language, India is an ocean. For example, Hindi is being spoken by 42 crore people, Malayalam by 3.3, Kannada by 3.8, Gujarati by 4.6 crores, Punjabi by 3 crores, Telugu by 7.5. So you can see that these numbers are much bigger than many countries in the world. So India is a huge country. India is actually an ocean of languages, and this represents unity in diversity. And we should take advantage of this diversity of the Indian languages to create very inclusive and very intelligent professionals using the different languages, education in different languages. For example, I'll give you an example. Where do you see best engineering being done? Best engineers, best equipment, most accurate devices, they are made in Switzerland and Germany. Do they speak English? The answer is no. They speak German, which really tells us that learning English and having technical skills are two different things. They are not related to each other. If somebody can make a good car, I mean, he doesn't have to learn English. He can make it by learning engineering in Hindi. It is the skill that is important, and skill is not dependent on the language. Language is just a medium to learn. Unfortunately, our system is that if you don't know the English, then you can do nothing. But this needs to change because we can't ignore 90% of our population. We have to take them along in this journey of development. So this is a very visionary mission being taken up by the Prime Minister himself, and I am trying to make whatever little contribution we can. Now, coming back to the leadership, there is a decision making and problem solving abilities. So decision making is always done when you know what are the alternatives, what are the uncertainty of each option that you have, what are the high risk consequences, what bad things can happen if you take a high risk possibility, what are the interpersonal issue a particular choice will create, what are the complexity that each choice will create. And once you know all these, then you can make a decision. How do you do this? Is ideal. How do you solve the problem in an ideal way? So the ideal way is first you identify the problem. Second is you define the problem. Third is you explore various ways to solve the problem. Then fourth is that take the action to solve the problem. And fifth is look back and review whether you have really solved the problem. So these are the 5 ways in which you can solve the problem. Creativity is very important in academics, academic leadership. So creative pedagogy in the academics and art of creative teaching is shown here. This is creative pedagogy. Creative pedagogy has creative teaching, creative learning, and teaching for creativity. And these are always interdisciplinary. They talk to each other. If you don't have creativity in your teaching, the students will be very reluctant while going to school. And while they get out of the school, they will come back like a panther. So this shows that in the school, the teaching pedagogy is not very good. So I think it should be the other way. While going school, they should be looking forward to it. While coming back, they should be reluctant to go home. You look at this professor, he has written all kinds of equations on the board. He is teaching something, but more important question is, he may be teaching whatever he's teaching, but are they listening? Are they learning? Are these students learning? So Unidirectional teaching is very bad. It should always be bidirectional teaching, and you should listen. I mean, you should keep on asking your people whether they are learning something. Fourth, and one of the very important aspect of academic leadership is ethical conduct. So ethical behavior is characterized by honesty, fairness, and equity in interpersonal, professional, and academic relationships, and in research and scholarly activities. Ethical behavior respects the dignity, diversity, and rights of individuals and group of people. What is the difference between ethical behavior and unethical behavior? So a guy who is honest is ethical, guy who lies is unethical. If the guy who is accountable is ethical, guy who cheats or steals, he is unethical. The guy who does his job well, he is ethical. Guy who does not abide by the rules of morality, he is unethical. The guy who has humility, he is humble, decent. He is servitude, placing other people's needs before own. He is ethical. The guy who takes bribes or corruption and the deliberate deception, that's unethical. The guy who has proper conduct is ethical. Violence of the conscience and failure to honor commitments is an unethical characteristic. Reliability, dedication, character, and fairness are ethical consideration. Unlawful conduct, disregard for organizational policy, misuse of resources, and illegal acts. These are the unethical behavior of a person. And in academics particularly, ethical behavior and understanding of ethics is very, very important, because if the teacher or the academic leader is not showing ethical behavior, the students or the disciples will also not be showing ethical behavior. So a bad or unethical leader will actually create humongous amount of damage to the country, because he will be generating or affecting the ethical behavior of hundreds and thousands of students and people below him. So it is very, very important that our academic leaders should be aware of ethical behavior and they should not do unethical things. So I come to the end of chapter number 4. Any questions so far?
Sir,
Please.
in the previous slides, you showed that there is a one point unethical and as well as a morality. Yeah, no. Next, sir. Yes, yes. So here, two terms are here, which sometimes most confused to me: ethical and morality. For example, let us say that there is some person is coming to the institutions, and he is not having sufficient amount of money to go for treatment in a hospital. So the person suggests that go to that hospital and that will be better for you. So does that person is doing a unethical things for that organization, and that the person is doing a morally he's a good. So how do we judge these two things, I mean, simultaneously, morality and ethical?
No, I did not understand your question. So this person is an employee of a hospital?
Employee of that particular organization, that hospitals. The
Okay,
person,
so that hospital is expensive, and he is asking the other person to go to the
other hospitals.
other hospital so that he can get cheaper treatment.
Hmm.
So you are asking whether it is unethical or
Yeah.
it is immoral.
Yes.
I don't think it is unethical or immoral, both, because he is actually, when you are in a profession, novel profession, like a medical profession, your first loyalty is towards the patient. And if the patient is not able to afford the treatment, you are advising him. Anyway, if he doesn't have means, so he will not be able to pay your bills as well for your hospital. So in a way, by advising him to go to other hospital where he can afford, you are not only helping the patient but also helping your organization, which will otherwise sink in more money on that patient, and the patient will not be able to afford. So I think ethics and morality, they are more or less same. They are not very different. If you don't follow the rules of the morality, you will be unethical as well.
Okay.
My
There is another question from Amita ma'am.
my question, my understanding of ethics and morality is very simple.
Okay.
If you ask your heart, whatever your heart allows. See, heart and brain always have a lot of struggle. So when there's such a situation comes to me, if you are able to listen to your heart carefully, heart never misadvises. Heart always tells you the right way. So heart will tell you a moral way, ethical way. Mind always tells you a practical way. So if both of them align, then you will be doing the right thing, which is moral and ethical. But sometimes when you have a wrong circuit in your brain and you take shortcuts and you suppress your what your heart is telling, then you will be going for unethical behavior. That's how I judge it.
Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I have the yes. Thank you, sir. It has been a wonderful lecture so far. I loved it. I'm loving it. Sir, my question is about something which you are very passionate about the use of the regional languages for studies. I mean, I'm all for it. I do believe that when we study a subject using our mother tongue, we understand the subject the best. But for higher studies, like if we continue to use only the regional language, then aren't we like if I am from, let's say I am from Bengal and I study the subject only in Bengali, I wouldn't be able to move out of Bengal to, I mean, to any uh, for to spread or for higher studies or I mean anything else. So I would always think that if it is bilingual, like use a regional language plus a language which is accepted all throughout India, then it is better. Or I mean, considering the examples you gave, Switzerland or Germany, that's they use the one and only language all throughout their country. So there's no problem of a person getting a job anywhere else from his own locality. But India being a multilingual country where the languages are so very different, we should have one, like it should be bilingual. I mean, like when I teach over here,
I
I use
understood.
and
I
English,
understood.
something like that.
So
What's your opinion about it?
can I respond?
Yes, sir, please continue.
So I think I just touched upon this, but for the practical implementation, what is done is this is only for like first 2-3 years of the undergraduate program that the student will be learning in Indian language, and even there the technical terms will be in English. And during the undergraduate course, he will also be taught English as a supplementary language. By the time he comes out, he will be proficient in English. And the postgraduate courses can be done in English. So, this Indian language mission is not actually anti English. It is about inclusivity. It is not about undermining the importance of English. English is important. It is an international language. If you want employability, the person should know English. And we cannot change things overnight. So, the whole idea is that right now, if you look at, for example, you may be living somewhere, there will be a lot of people, for example, in your servant quarter or your taxi driver's son, they will not have access to English, and they cannot read because they only study until 11th 12th, they only study Bengali, they don't know English. They are not less smart than your son, right? They are as smart as your son, but they don't have the opportunity. Once you allow them this opportunity to learn in their own language and pick up the English skills over next 3-4 years, they will be able to perform as good as your son. So this is the whole plan, is about enabling people and who are not proficient in English. It is not about undermining the importance of English.
But sir, we do have a second language. Like every syllabus in the in school level has a first language and a second language, and generally English is being taught
Yeah,
everywhere.
so
And
I
you can
think
have
that's
your
not.
regional language as a first
No, no,
language.
no. This is not what the whole program is. I can maybe take 2 hours on this single topic. We will be diverting. But what I'm saying is, all these factors, when the plan is being made, all these factors are taken into account. And we are not talking of first language, second language, third language. Third language or second language, when we talk, it's just one subject that is introduced. What we are talking about is that every subject is taught in these languages. So this is
Yes,
very
sir.
different from this concept of first language, second language, third language.
I mean to say, everybody in India who is going up to class 10 level education, they have studied a bit of English. That's what I mean to say. That's why I mentioned. All the syllabuses have at least two languages, which are being
Yeah, they
taught.
have. But then why, you tell me, if all the everything is already there, then why 90% of the population is left out? Those who don't understand English, why their kids are not seen in technical programs? Why their kids are not? I mean, if you look at, for example, the rickshawala, if you go to a rickshawala and ask him, okay, where does he want to send his kids? He will say, oh, I want to send it to English medium school. You go to that English medium school, that school will have 1500 rupees per month fees. It will be a two-room school. The teachers will not know English properly, but it will be just having a board of English medium. So there, neither the students learn English, nor they get education, and everything falls apart. So what I am trying to say is this whole program is actually aimed to remove people from this whirlpool of language. Okay, they should learn in the language that they speak. If you learn technical professional skills in your own language, you absorb much better. Your innovation potential is much better, and you grasp the concept much better.
Yes,
And
sir,
then
I
slowly
agree
you
with
learn
that.
English and then become proficient.
I'm just concerned about the job prospects, whether they will be able to move into a different state for the job. That's all.
Yeah,
That's why
so
I'm
they will be able
private
to
one.
move into a different state because by fourth year they will have as good English skills as anybody else. They have all the technical terms they have learned in English. Their English will be as good, so they will definitely be able to go not only pan India, also internationally, and they will be far better skilled than if they were taught in English alone.
Thank
Okay, did I answer your question?
you. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any more question, or should I move forward? Okay, let's talk about the strategies for effective academic leadership. So if you look at the effective academic leadership, three things are very important. One is the inclusive leadership practices. Second is mentorship and professional development program. And the third thing that is important is balancing administrative responsibilities with academic priority. So these three things are extremely important for effective academic leadership. Now, what is the first factor, which is inclusive leadership practices? What does it mean? So it means that you have to create an environment where diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences are not only acknowledged, but also embraced to drive innovations and success. So diversity is always respected. People from different backgrounds and different experiences are not only acknowledged, but they are respected, and this will lead to more innovation and higher success. There is a formula called 6 C's, which is the signature trait for inclusive leadership. So what are these 6 C's? These are the 6 C-based letters. For example, curiosity, cultural intelligence, collaboration, commitment, courage, and cognizance. What does it do? So curiosity, because you should be curious because different ideas and different experiences, they enable growth. So you should always be curious to find different ideas, and these ideas will always enrich your experience, and they will always enable growth into your system. Second important C is cultural intelligence. Because not everyone sees the world through the same cultural frame. So if you take the cultural intelligence into consideration, there will be many new ideas that may come into the picture. If you have collaboration, because a diverse thinking team is greater than the sum of all parts. If you have a team which is quite diverse, everybody thinks differently and they collaborate to solve a problem, you will get many ideas, and these ideas will help you solve the problem. And then your commitment is extremely important, because staying on course is very hard. And if you have a commitment to a goal, commitment to a final destination, you will always keep that in mind, and then you will follow your path, because staying on one path for a longer time is very challenging. There are always a lot of distraction, people get distracted. So if you have made a commitment that 5 years, I want to be in NIRF 100 in my institution, that's where I want to take it. Then you make strategies, and whatever strategies are made, you follow them and made a commitment to your objective, then you will be able to achieve success. And then you should have courage, because talking about imperfections involve personal risk taking. If there is some imperfection somewhere and you want to point it out, whoever you point it out, the person will get unhappy with you. So you should have the courage to call spade a spade and make corrective steps. And then you should take cognizance of different things, because bias is a leader's Achilles heels. That means if a leader has a bias for something, then he will have a pain in his back. So you have to take cognizance, and you have to be free from all kinds of biases. So these are the 6 signature traits for inclusive leadership. Second aspect is mentorship and professional development. Now, these programs of mentorship and professional development program, if you allow them to be taken up by your team, they can help foster growth in your system. They can support in the development of the future leader from among your team members, and they can contribute to culture of continuous improvement within the academic institute. For example, this particular course you are doing, this is a mentorship and professional development program. And this falls in this ambit. So when you have such mentorship or professional development program, knowledge get transferred. For example, whatever knowledge I have, now I am sharing it with you, and some of it will get rubbed into you. You will develop some new skills by such mentorship program. You will be able to do some networking. You meet me after 2 years and you say, okay, Professor Agarwal, I met you in this course. So you will be able to do some networking. You can, it will help you in confidence building and also in your personal growth. It can actually enhance your research productivity if some of those ideas can be implemented. And you can adopt some of your best practices. So therefore, it is very important to have mentorship and professional development programs from time to time, so that it leads to your personal growth in all these domains. The third important aspect is balancing the administrative responsibilities and academic priorities. When you become a director, you will have a lot of administrative responsibilities, but you also have academic priorities. You need to actually manage these two. So you should, on one side, you have administrative responsibilities. On the other side, you have the academic priorities. You should not totally get into administrative responsibilities and leave the academic priority, or just focus on the academic priority and leave the administrative responsibilities. If there is no balance, you cannot be a successful leader. In both cases, if you are overemphasizing on one of them, you will be a bad leader. Okay. So how do you, balance these? You should have effective meetings. You should set the boundaries. You should do good communication in a precise manner. You should have team empowerment. That means not everything needs to be done by the director. He can delegate his responsibility to the team. He can have a set of deans and they can take some of the responsibility. You can have strategic planning about who in your team can be given, what kind of responsibility. You should have a plan for your own time management. You should prioritize things. This needs to be done on priority. This can go a little bit back. You should learn how to delegate things. For example, not everything needs to be done by me. For example, I used to do this mistake. People have this habit of perfection. They want to do everything themselves. But then you have to understand that you have limited time in a day. If you want to do things which others can also do, delegate them. Maybe they will do with 95% efficiency. Doesn't matter. Heavens are not going to fall. You should try to take up the activities which others cannot do. And that's how you develop team. That's how you delegate things. That's how the system works perfectly. In our research and day-to-day running activities also, this is also very, very important that we balance these things. Now, I will talk about challenges and solutions in academic leadership. So, one of the challenge in the academic leadership is that there is very diverse kind of faculty and student population. Diverse could be, there could be people from general category, people from reserved category, people from OBC. There could be males and female diversity. There could be diversity from different languages. There could be diversity of religions. There could be diversity of languages they speak. So there is a fair amount of diversity in faculty members and student population. There will be, obviously, because of the diversity, there will be cultural differences, and cultural diversity can lead to very misunderstandings very, very easily. There could be communication barriers because of the cultural aspects, and there could be clash in perspectives. For example, one group of the people thinks something is correct, the other people of the other group can think that this is not acceptable. So you have to, as a leader, manage all these perspectives. So there should be cultural sensitivity training of the people, that there's people should be sensitive to other cultures and other beliefs. You should encourage open dialogue about cultural differences, and you should create a welcoming environment. It's not that one strata of the society is left like they are completely ignored, and the other society, you represent a certain population group that becomes powerful. That creates, actually, that destroys culture. So you should create cultural sensitivity training, create open dialogue about cultural differences, and create a welcoming environment if you want to be accepted as a good leader. You should have inclusive curriculum. For example, incorporate diverse perspective into the course content. Teach about different cultures in your curriculum if possible. Offer optional modules that explore various cultural contexts, and involve students in curriculum development. This is one of the best way, if you have different diverse students involved in curriculum development, that really encourages the curriculum development in some sense. You look at the diversity in students and faculty. So diversity always enhances productivity. It increases the fire in the belly for all. Stakeholders in competition will deprecate newcomers, but look at all indicators and trends. Exposure in wide range of perspective, ideas, and cultural background normally encourages students to develop open-minded later in life. So basically, if you develop this diversity ideas into among the students, all these students, when they become adult, they will be developing into open-minded adult, which will be good for the country. This allows them to be more receptive to new ideas and gain a deeper understanding of the subject by considering various viewpoints. So diversity in students and faculty leads to always improvement in the quality of the outcome. And this diversity could be gender, it could be religion, it could be caste, it could be background, it could be language, it could be state, it could be place of education. For example, in IITs, we have undergraduates of IITs, which are having a lot of fraternity among themselves. And they are quite different from people who are having undergraduate degrees from other places. Some students, how you are choosing the student, that can also lead to diversity. For example, some student may be chosen by JEE, some students may be coming directly. So this can also be a diversity factor. Okay. So now let us understand equity versus equality. Very, very important. What is equity and what is equality? This is often misunderstood subject. Equity and equality is extremely important to learn. And this cartoon actually explains. Equality means if a person who is handicapped, a tall person, a lady, or a child, everybody is made equal. So they get cycles of the same size, and you can see that nobody is comfortable. And if equity is maintained instead of equality, then a handicapped person is given a tricycle, a tall person is given a tall cycle, a child is given a small cycle, a lady is given a medium cycle, and then everybody is comfortable. So which one is better, equity or equality? So obviously the answer is that equity is better than equality. So equality means that individuals or group of the people is given the same resources or same opportunity. And this is what is happening today in our country, and this is what is leading to a lot of hard ones. You can see what I'm talking about. If you give people equity, it recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. So once you give equity to all the people, they will all be able to race perfectly, and they will all be able to reach the same destination at the same time. Whereas equality, it is not possible. So you should actually, as a leader, you should focus more on equity than really equality. Gender inclusivity is also very important, and this is where India is not doing very well. Now, of course, in this government, we have tried to recognize this, and now we are moving in this direction with the legislation being adopted for 33% reservation for females in the country. And this is the need of the hour. This should also be done in academic institutions. Using gender inclusive language means speaking or writing in a way that does not discriminate against a particular sex, social gender, or gender identity, and does not perpetuate gender stereotypes. This is very, very important. So whenever you say something, it is perfectly fine to say, if you generally you can refer the persons as her. Even if it is a male, you can refer to the person as her, and this actually is considered acceptable now. Earlier, people used to take an offense, but this is the latest trend that's going on. If we look at the women in science, we need a lot of women in science. For example, Leela Poonawalla, you may have not heard this name. She was the first Indian to obtain a mechanical engineering degree. Similarly, you must have never heard about this Dr. Anandibai Gopal Rao Joshi. She was the first Indian female doctor of Western medicine. Kalpana Chawla, of course, you must have heard about, first woman of Indian origin in space. And why it is important to have women in science? Because it ensures inclusivity of the 50% population of the country. It leads to equity. It increases in the knowledge outcome because women have different perspective of looking at things compared to males, and it gives a very different perspective and therefore a very different knowledge outcome. It increases the business opportunity, it increases the creativity and insight into the system, it increases the innovation. For example, this one quote which was published in Atlantic Monthly in May 2014, it says that women look at problems from different perspectives. This was written in the title Imperative in Scientific Experiment, which was published in Atlantic Monthly. Half a dozen global studies conducted by the likes of Goldman Sachs and Columbia University have found that companies employing women in large numbers outperform their competitors in every measure of profitability. And so are the examples in the academic world. So it is important to have females, lot of females in our academic institution. And we should try to have more inclusivity for female colleagues in our systems.
So there is a question from Prashant, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there is any existence of equity in academic evaluation?
There is. These are all academic evaluations are most of the time subjective and not objective. So I think by and large academic equity is looked at. Yes. In most cases, yes. And Prashant, that there are no hard and fast rules for academic evaluation. There is no straight jacketed thing, and whenever we put straight jacketed things like number of papers, citations, H index, and we try to quantify it, leads to a lot of hard ones. So these things are important. I am not saying that they are not important, but they are not the only things that are important. So we should look at the equity in that sense.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so when you lead an academic institution, and I'll close in 2-3 minutes. When you lead an academic institution, you have to navigate budget constraints and resource limitations. Government gives you very limited funding, so you have to develop a transparent and comprehensive budgeting process and prioritize funding based on these strategic goals. You should have good academic and faculty and staff compensation, and you should offer good packages that include benefits and professional development opportunities. Salary, other than salary, you should also offer professional development opportunities. You should focus on technology upgrade because technology investments directly enhance teaching, research, and administrative efficiency. You should look at infrastructure maintenance and develop facilities maintenance plan that outlines priorities, allocate resources based on urgency, and explore energy saving measures to reduce long-term cost. And as an academic leader, you should invest in student support services because priority services with greatest impact on student, and they consider, excuse me, we consider partnership with external organization, leverage the technology for virtual support for these students. So these are very effective tools. Now, addressing the curriculum relevance in rapidly changing world. Many institutions, they become irrelevant because they don't change their curriculum. The world moves away. I know many institutions are still teaching the same courses that their grandfathers have studied. So that's not fair because the world has changed a lot since 50 years. And so you should have courses on analytical thinking and innovation. You should try to develop these 15 skills. For example, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality and initiative, reasoning and problem solving and ideation, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, technology design and programming, technology use, monitoring and control, leadership and social influence, emotional intelligence, troubleshooting and user experience, service orientation, system analysis and evaluation, and persuasion and negotiation. So either you should have these courses or in the existing courses, some elements of these skills you should build in so that the students are trained for the 21st century jobs and they should not just be trained for doing routine things. You will be experiencing a lot of conflict, so conflict resolution and maintaining a positive academic environment is also important. So the challenges are that there is workload and expectation. You give more teaching load to someone and expect too much. Expect them to spend 12 hours, 14 hours. So the solution is this: that you should set clear expectations, what is expected, provide transparent guidelines, no nepotism, and work distribution should be equal. You should avoid communication breakdown because when communication breakdown happens, then either it leads to catastrophic failure, emotional bursts, fights between people. So you should always maintain effective communication skill through workshops and trainings. Personality crashes are also a big challenge in the institutions. You should do the conflict resolution through training, encouragement, self-awareness. Promoting the teamwork and collaboration is extremely important. Generally, in the institutions where there is a lot of teamwork and collaboration, personality clashes do not occur. Personality clashes do occur when we don't have teamwork. Then ethical and professional differences, you communicate clear ethical standards, provide avenues for discussing concerns like you are asking questions, so there should be possibility of asking questions which are bothering us, and involve in relevant committees in resolving ethical dilemma. So in the institution, there should be ethical committees, ethics committees, which should, if there is a problem, if there is a situation where the person does not know what to do, what is ethical, what is not ethical. Nobody wants to be unethical, but sometimes if the guidance is not there, sometimes people tend to commit mistakes which can be termed as unethical. So such committees will help. Then you have to adapt to digital transformation in education. So you should focus on advantage of digital education include personalized listening. They make these students smarter, motivate these students. Extensive learning opportunities are there because there's a lot of information available on the internet. This makes students more accountable to solve their problems. Better engagement rates because students get engaged on the online things much better than physical, and deeper involvement of teachers and parents is required. And this makes students acquainted with the digital technology and tools. So these are all the advantages of digital education. So for this, you can have smart classrooms and language labs, and this will help you digitally transform the education in your academic institute. So I think I'm already at 1 hour 25 minutes. I will quickly go through the slides and then conclude. So there are some steps for improved academic leadership. So, and then some case studies. So as I thought I will be able to communicate only 6, and I think I've done 6. So to conclude, you should have the clear recruitment criteria, which should not only be based on the teaching experience but on other experiences also. Clear stated roles and responsibilities, sustainable training program. I think this is all about the academic leadership. Don't look for a magic bullet, view the big picture. Don't ignore the knowledge in house. Collaborate within this. Team approach is required. Mentoring and coaching is essential. Communication is very important. Passion is very important. Discipline is very important. Inclusivity is important. Drive to do things is important. Developing others and helping others become leader is also very important. Value added innovation is very important. Data driven decision making is important. Collaboration is important. Knowledge is important. Creativity is important. So a leader has to look at so many different aspects to actually govern the institution properly. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir, again to disturb you.
No, not at
Sir,
all. What is there to
sir,
disturb?
sir, my last question is, you last said that transforming or adapting the latest information technology uses. So my question is whether this adapting the artificial intelligence will be a good measure for good leadership or not.
Of course, any technology that comes, technology is a double-edged sword. Technology, if it is not combined with ethics, is going to be a disaster. AI, we need to learn AI. We need to learn how to use AI with ethical standards. When AI is blended with ethics, used ethically, it will lead to knowledge creation. If AI is used in unethical ways to copy the assignment, to write the exams, then it is going to be disaster. So therefore, it is important that we learn the technology, but more importantly, before that, we should make our students aware of the ethics. If the ethics are there, no technology can break you. But if the ethics are not there, technology can be always misused and abused.
My question is related once again this ethics. Uh, University Grant Commissions has issued a regulation 2018 in which they have mentioned the guidelines for teachers how to behave with their colleagues, with their other employees, with their students. So, do you think that just propagating the ethical guidelines by the UGC, it will inculcate that instruction to the teachers that it will be followed?
Manish, what is the difference between a rule and a guideline? Guideline tells you a boundary, okay? But you can violate the guidelines if you want. Rules are straitjacketed. Why UGC has issued, I think it's a very welcome step, because it is basically guidelines are issued to sensitize people. If there is no guideline, everybody can think whatever I do is ethical. No, it is not. You should first know what is the ethical conduct, and these guidelines tell you what is ethical conduct. Again, ethics is also a very, very dynamic concept. Today, what is ethical may not be ethical tomorrow. Ethics keep changing with time. For example, if you look at 30 years ago, have you heard about plagiarism 30 years ago? The answer is
I
no.
know that. I know that.
When I was doing a PhD, there was nothing called plagiarism. We were not unethical. But then, many people in our generation used to write paragraphs after paragraphs on the paper. Of course, they will write everything. Not from one paper only, 100 paper they will take. Today, if you write one paragraph from a particular paper, then it is considered unethical. It will be detected by plagiarism detection software. Tomorrow, now the AI has come. If you write a paragraph in AI, it is not going to be detected by any plagiarism software, but it is unethical. So tomorrow there will be tools which will be able to detect the AI generated paragraphs. That's why I said, these ethical standards are also dynamic. As the technology evolves, the ethical standards will also become more and more stringent, and they will also evolve. So to overcome this dichotomy, of course, the guideline is just to sensitize. But as I said, ethics, you have to listen here. And you should make sure that your heart is not overpowered by your brain. Brain is dirty, heart is pure. If you do things which your heart allows you to do, listen to it. You will never do anything which is unethical. That's what, at least that is what I follow. That's my recipe. It's not
वन लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर, हम अपने भारतीय जो हमारा नेतृत्व है, खासकर शिक्षा जगत में जो है, हम उनके वैल्यूज को और उनकी बातों को या उनकी पुस्तकों को या उनके शोध प्रकाशनों को उतना महत्व नहीं देते हैं जितना हम विदेशों को देते हैं. अगर हम चाइना को देखें तो वो अपनी भाषा में लिख करके बहुत आगे निकल गए. और मैं कई बार कई जगह पर कई मंचों पर सुना है कि इस ऑथर का किताब पढ़ो, विदेशी किताब अच्छा है. इसमें हमारी मानसिकता ऐसी क्यों है सर?
ये थोड़ा सा पॉलिटिकल का जवाब हो जाएगा उसका, और इस पे कभी शाम को चर्चा करी जा सकती है. इसका मेरे पास जवाब भी नहीं है, क्योंकि ये जनरेशनल चीज होती है.
ठीक है.
हम लोग गुलाम मानसिकता के लोग हैं. अभी धीरे धीरे हमको आज़ादी आ रही है. आज़ादी अभी कुछ दिन पहले ही हुई है हमारी, तो अब दिमाग की भी आज़ादी थोड़े दिन में हो जाएगी हम लोगों की. एक जनरेशन लगेगा. बहुत सारी चीज़ों में हम आज़ाद हुए हैं, तो ये वाली मानसिकता से भी हम आज़ाद होंगे. इंडिया में भी अभी अच्छा कंटेंट क्रिएट हो रहा है, ओरिजिनल कंटेंट क्रिएट हो रहा है. इट टेक्स 1 or 2 generation for making change at that level. So we should not say that, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And these are generational changes which take a very, very long time to actually take place. So let's be hopeful. Let's all keep working. It is not one person's job. It is not one day's job. But let's keep working. एक एक फावड़ा सब चलाओ तो धीरे धीरे बन ही जाएगा रास्ता.
Thank you sir. By 2040 expecting that we could be there.
नमस्कार सर.
नमस्कार.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन फिर से एथिक्स और लीडरशिप पे है. सर आई थिंक एज लाइक इन माय केस व्हेन वी मूव upwards in the leadership roles, like I started as an assistant professor and then graduated to associate and head of the department. सर क्योंकि हमें पता है कि वहाँ के challenges क्या हैं, और कई बार in my leadership commitments so the loyalty balance leans towards the organization, और कुछ चीजें हम implement करते हैं या एनफोर्स करते हैं जो कहीं पे, जैसे आपने कहा कि दिल की सुनो, और वो नहीं हो पाता. एंड दिस इज व्हाट आई मीन, दैट्स द डायलेमा सर आई परपेचुअली गो थ्रू. आई मीन from mentors like you and veterans, like how do we reach out of the other side of that dilemma, sir?
No, I think as I said, इनका कोई short fix नहीं है. But even if you have favoritism in your mind for your own organization, but you should still be upholding, as a professor, as a teacher, we should be above all kinds of isms, whether it is nepotism, whether it is my organization, this organization, my student, my this thing. We have to come out of these my and isms, and we should set standards, ethical standards, by being fair and impartial. So it takes a lot of practice, and at times, it leads to a lot of heartburns, because generally if you are in a system, people expect you to behave in a certain manner, favor you because you know them or they know you. So that's where I think you have to be a little bit fair. Try to encourage. I mean, if somebody, for example, if somebody you're known to you is applying as a faculty candidate position, you can help him prepare for the exam. You can help him prepare for the interview. This is perfectly fine. But don't tell him what are the questions you're going to ask. And once he come for the interview, and if you're sitting on the other side, be fair and evaluate him just like you are evaluating anyone else. So you are actually showing empathy. You are helping him prepare well. But when you are in the decision-making chair, you should make a decision which is fair. For example, I'll tell you an example. My own student gave the state-of-the-art seminar today, PhD student. When he comes to me, I'll check his whole entire PPT, I'll make him practice. But when he goes and gives the exam, and I and my colleagues are examined, I grill him. I grill him much more badly than my colleague will grill him. Because there my role, he's not my student there. There he's a student who is defending, and I am his examiner. When he's coming to my chamber to show his presentation, at that time he's my student, I have to show the empathy. So basically, at different points in time, the leadership has to wear different hats, and we should be able to differentiate between different hats. One time your mentor, you help him, but the other time, if you're evaluator, be fair and make a fair evaluation.
Thank you so much, sir.
I hope I am able to answer your question.
Yes, sir. I think that switching on the, I mean, at what frequency we switch on the hats, I think that there
You have to be
that's
conscious
the
about it. The only thing is, Dr. Parashar, now I have told you this. Next time you will be able to switch very easily. See, what happens is, if somebody tells us few things very explicitly, we always become conscious. So next time you are in this position, you will remember my words and you will consciously switch the roles very effectively.
definitely.
Telling in so
Thank
many
you so
words is
much, sir.
very important.